The modern day world can be quite overwhelming and stressful at times. We invite you into our today's discussion around holistically managing stress. We'll talk about the fight and flight response, the biological impact of being in that heightened state, and the connection to chronic disease and digestive issues. We'll share some personal experiences and discuss ways that we can help get out of that fight or flight mode, out of that heightened state, and into healing process.
Welcome to the Integrative Duo podcast. You're here with Kat and Bec. We're sisters with very unique paths, wanting to explore all things holistic living, self-development and consciousness with you.
We're joining forces to help support and inspire others to lessen the chemical load, eat more whole foods, become more conscious of their thoughts and beliefs, plus so much more. Welcome everyone, thanks for joining us. We're so excited to be here today. We're here with our cuppers and looking forward to a good chat on holistic ways to help manage stress. And I thought before we begin, let's just check in and see how we're doing. And how are you doing, Bec? And how's your week been?
My week has been, I guess, a bit full on. I've got a busy schedule like most people, I guess, but I'm trying to find my balance with everything because I love all my commitments, but just trying to cut back on some things, because even if what I'm realizing anyway, you can take on too much, even the things you love, your body still feels the stress because you're not slowing down. So that's where I'm at. It's good that I love the things that I'm doing, but I'm still feeling the stress and the repercussions of that. So that's my week. And I've noticed a lot more people are talking how stressed and overwhelmed they're feeling in life, maybe on a global scale and what's going on in the world, maybe personal scale, on any scale. So a lot more people talking about how stressed and overwhelmed they're feeling. So that's kind of interesting as well. How are you feeling, Katrina? Kat, sorry, Bec and Kat on the podcast.
Well, Rebecca, I'm doing all right. I have heard a lot more people also saying that they're feeling stressed, and it is the way of the world, but also because it's the festive season and Christmas is coming. And I suppose a little bit less stressed now that I've got all of my Christmas shopping done. I've ordered the food that I need, and all we need to do is get the fresh fruits and vegetables. So that's good. That's a good peace of mind. But I'm having a good week.
Yeah.
Good.
That's good.
Yeah. Quite happy.
Yeah, that's good. So I think our disclaimer quickly is that this information we're going to be giving out on this podcast is not medical advice. If you're needing help with anything medical, go speak to your GP. This is just food for thought, things to stimulate your brain and get you thinking about different strategies that you can implement. So definitely don't take it as medical advice, please.
Yeah, and GP or health practitioner, depending on
who you see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Excellent. So as we've said a few times now, we're going to be talking about stress and how we can holistically manage it. So I think the first thing that we need to be aware of is what is stress and what can stress have, what effect it can have on our body. So the flight or fight response, or the fight or flight response, is the way that the body responds to a perceived threat. So Bec and I are sitting here at the moment, we're drinking our cup of tea, we're having a chat with you guys, although sometimes it can get a little nerve-wracking because we're going to lose train of thought. It's not stressful. We're relaxed, we're calm, and everything's in homeostasis, which is fabulous. But then if we hear a loud bang and we're unsure and weren't expecting it, our body goes, oh my goodness, what is this? Do I need to be scared of it? Do I need to run? How should I react to this noise? So before my brain can intellectually perceive what has gone on and process it and determine how big a threat it is, my body has already responded. My heart rate's already increased. I may have reduced my respiratory rate because I'm holding my breath waiting to see what happens next. My body has released cortisol, can't even get it out. And my blood vessels have, constricted. So it's almost an automatic response. Now that I've had time to process it, I've realized that it's the neighbor's gate. It's gone bang because it's windy and it's not a threat at all. And then my body can then relax, which is good. But when I'm in that heightened state, I don't have control of what's going on in my body. And so I've mentioned the increased heart rate, the restriction of the blood vessels, the increase in blood pressure, and also the stomach and upper intestinal tract and your digestion can stop. So we can look at a lot of like digestive issues.
Yeah.
So another one I've got on my list, which is quite interesting, is your sexual function can cease, and your adrenal secretions can be flushed into your bloodstream. So when I look at the way that your body can react during a stressful moment, I look at, okay, well, that's quite interesting. What kind of health issues have we got going on in our modern day society? And so we look at, increased heart disease, increase in, your
diabetes or obesity. So the increase in cortisol also can impact your other hormones, which will cause you to want to eat more. So it's a ripple of effect.
Definitely. And the digestion issue. So there's a lot of people that are on, your protein pump inhibitors like your Somac and your pantoprazole, and a lot of people suffering bloating and abdominal cramps, and we go,
IBS.
IBS, yeah, that's a good one.
That's so common.
Yeah, and go, okay, all right, well, there's a lot of illnesses and chronic diseases going on. Could this be related back to stress? Yes, there's lots of research and links that do link it back, but at the time when you're suffering, that little bit of indigestion or IBS symptoms, could you be stressed and not realize?
Yeah, and you might be in the situation where I'm in, where you perhaps don't even realize you're stressed because everything's going well for you, but you just haven't slowed down. So that's what where I'm coming from. But it could be an unhealthy relationship you're in that's causing emotional stress. That's still going to cause stress within the body. There is, evidence to say like we're all related, we're all connected. The emotions, mental, physical. And I guess holistic living, we're covering all of that. Holism is looking at the mind, body, spirit. So it could be an unhealthy relationship and emotional stress. It can be a job you're not loving and you feel overwhelmed and stressed every day. It can be so many factors. It can be the environment you're in that's causing you physical stress or energetic stress. So I think it's interesting if you have all these responses, even after a few seconds, a few minutes of stress. Imagine chronic stress that most people are under. So the job they don't like, the relationship they're not happy in, and
financial worries,
huge,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So that's chronic stress. And then if you're chronically got elevated cortisol, which if you don't know what cortisol is, it's your stress hormone. So if you've got elevated cortisol or other symptoms of stress that's happening physically, biologically, then imagine that happening every day for 25 years in a job you don't like, or
damage that could be doing that you don't even notice. Yeah, it's actually really scary when you go to think about it. It's crazy. And I was just looking at my little list here, thinking back to when we used to live in caves. We were worried about being chased by a bear or, attacked by a predator. So are we going to fight or are we going to run? And then in today's society, what does fighting look like for us, and what does, fleeing look for us? And so fighting could be, continuously being angry or argumentative and exhibiting those behaviors. Or flight and fleeing could be, your social withdrawal, substance abuse, and even, withdrawing and absorbing yourself into internet or gaming and, really retracting away from society. So it's really interesting about how, if you look at today's society, stress isn't typically, seen like it, was hundreds of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and it shows up in so many different ways within our lifestyle, but then in our body, and then how we try and cope with it, because the body's trying to cope all the time. So we're trying to find a coping mechanism, which could be the substance. And substance aren't just,
alcohol, hard drugs.
Yeah, it's not. It can just be your caffeine, or it can be your dark chocolate. Like I'm an open book. So if you're ready for really candid conversations, I share a lot. So that's me. But I'm happy with sharing that I had a bit of a chocolate addiction, but dark chocolate. I justified it to myself.
Nearly 100% dark, the really bitter.
But I was under a lot of stress, going through a bit of an unhealthy relationship, trying to get out of that. I was in my exam period. I was work stuff, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I justified my chocolate because I'm like, it's healthy. It's really good one. But I was eating a lot of it. So your body finds coping mechanisms. And I think what I want to say as well on this is to be kind to yourself if you've got a coping mechanism right now that perhaps isn't the best thing ever. But you've got to cope as well. You've got to find your way through your tunnel of stress, whether that could be grief or emotional stress. It could be anything. So just be kind to yourself as well.
Because we're not perfect. We're definitely not perfect. But we have been on our own separate journeys working out how we best cope with stress.
Yeah.
Because I look back and go, wow, I was actually really stressed in the job that I was doing, even though I loved it and I was busy. I like to say productive now, but busy. And how did that look like? And not making time and prioritizing different things that would help relieve me of my stress. So not prioritizing the exercise and sacrificing probably my nutrition for the sake of a quick and easy meal or snack, because it was allowed me to be able to fit in more study or fit in more work. So we'll go and delve into stress management strategies shortly, but we're definitely not perfect.
No, not
We've
at
been
all.
on our journey. We've worked out that there are different ways that we can handle it, and instead of, for me, necessarily reaching for that glass of wine on the evening, go and move and do kickboxing or whatever, float your boat instead, and then that is a much more healthier mentality to do. So Bec, you've got a list here.
I do have a list. Yeah, I want to agree. We're human. So
Yes.
we're going to be having really real conversations with you, and obviously going to be chatting to some amazing people on this podcast, talking about their stories on holistic living, consciousness and self-development, all the things we love. So yeah, just understand that we're here, and we hope that we're relatable to you all, because we're going through all the stresses of life with you and finding our best way to navigate. But yeah, there's so many strategies, holistic strategies, to help you manage your stress, because you obviously don't want to stay in that fight or flight mode and turn into chronic stress. So on that, if you're in a relationship that you're really unhappy in, you've got to reassess. If you're in a job you really don't like, you've got to reassess, because that's going to lead to chronic stress. But let's get to our list.
I like a good list.
We've got a good list.
So what's at the top of the list?
Top of the list is nutrition. I know that you can probably agree that when you were changing your diet, and the same with me, I think with everyone, when you change your diet and alter and swap out things, you notice that clarity.
Oh my goodness. Yes, most definitely. So I can 100% speak to this. I reassessed my life a few months ago after having a good time on annual leave, eating lovely food, drinking lots of lovely drinks, and not committing enough time to myself, relaxation and movement. And I reassessed. We're not sponsored by Changing Habits or anything like that, or Cindy O'Meara, but
maybe one day.
Yeah, hopefully, Cindy, if you're listening to us,
Hi.
But did a protocol where I could eliminate foods and then reintroduce them and see how my body responds to it. But by cutting out processed food, cutting out anything that wasn't real food, wheat, alcohol, reducing my caffeine intake, which was much needed, I was able to get rid of the brain fog, see things clearly, lose a little bit of weight, which was really good because my knees were starting to play up, and get rid of the bloating and the digestion issues that I actually didn't really know were there. So changing what I ate, and then also really trying to focus on selecting fruits and vegetables that were chem-free and organic, because going down our journey, we have looked at, what they're putting into fruits and vegetables, and it's a bit scary, but that's another time.
That's another time.
But reassessing what I'm consuming and what we eat.
Yeah, and that clarity it brings. I reassessed that quite a long time ago, but I noticed when I slip up or if I eat something with processed sugar, I feel foggy. I feel my brain just feels really foggy. Or if I eat something that I know is going to trigger my digestive system to be inflamed, I feel really just foggy in the brain. I don't know how else to kind of explain that, but nutrition is a big factor. So I would say my number one thing is to cut back on stimulants. I know it's really hard when we are reaching for that coffee, or whether it's a tea, black tea, because it's still a stimulant, a black tea, or whether it's alcohol, or whether it's dark chocolate and cacao, because that's still stimulants. Yeah, it is hard, because when you're stressed, you want that pick-me-up, and that's your comfort. The thing is, you start to get into that feedback loop, and then the stimulant actually doesn't serve you that well. Perhaps it might inhibit you from falling asleep and having the best sleep that night, or maybe you just rely on it and have too many cups of coffee, which Kat could say with a night shift work back in those days.
Definitely not so long ago, working night shift, so it wasn't uncommon to have 6 to 8 cups of coffee a night,
which is huge. 6 to 8, if you don't know, that's a lot.
That's a lot, because I relied on it, and reassessing and changing, I had to cut out my coffee, I think down to 1 black coffee a day, and I was like, how am I going to do this? Is it worth it? Am I going to be able to maintain this? Because we're not about fad diets or anything like that, but it gave me an opportunity to see what my body felt like without this stimulant. And the same with cutting out breads and pastas and wheat. It may not necessarily be someone's cup of tea, because it's not going to continue on with them over months and years, but it gives you a good opportunity to feel differently, because it does make a huge impact. So yeah, I had to do the same thing with caffeine or coffee, because there's lots of caffeine in your tea, and I still have a tea now and again, and a herbal teas, like we are now.
But I had to cut back on coffee because I had a pretty unhealthy relationship with that. So that's one thing, to notice your stimulants, because you become in a feedback loop, and the stimulants, and that caffeine specifically, that's going to actually cause more stress within your body. So just be mindful of that if you can. Next thing on the list, I think we've briefly mentioned, would be processed foods. Yep,
definitely. If, looking at what real food is.
Yeah.
And, hashtag just eat real foods, have a look at that.
Whole foods.
Yeah, whole foods makes a huge difference. And getting a bit more creative with meals and getting organised and prepared. People, say that it costs a lot more to eat fresh. However, it doesn't actually cost that much more. And if you look at your health, what's going to cost more in the long run? Are you going to be unhealthy relying on medications and in the healthcare system, versus trying to make an impact now while you still have your health?
Yeah, so I think with the processed foods part, because we're obviously going to chat so much more about all of these topics in other podcasts and probably on other other social media platforms as well. But with the processed foods, eating whole foods, like Kat's saying, if you get creative, it actually doesn't, cost more. You just got to know how to use your fruits and vegetables well. And I think that's what people like, is that creative inspiration.
Definitely. Creative, how to use them and how to store them is a big thing, so that your lettuces don't wilt and your carrots don't go floppy as quickly. And we're going to dive into this more, because this is a passion of both of ours, how to make sure we minimize the waste of the food. So I've gotten quite creative, and broths have been, especially during the winter, my new favorite, because you have all the delicious fruits and vegetables at the start of your shop, and then towards the end you can cut it all up, throw it in a broth, and it's good for you, and it uses up all of your your leftovers or wilted celery, even though fresh is best, but it's great. So cut out the processed foods. A fun fact for you, I was looking the other day, and if we go something basic like your strawberry flavour, 46 ingredients, most of them chemicals, in one strawberry artificial flavour. So start looking at your processed foods and maybe reading ingredients and having a look at the back of your packaging and going, okay, what's this? If I don't know what it is it good for me?
And I know if you're just starting off on this journey, how daunting it must feel for you, especially if you've got dependents like kids and you've got a family, how daunting it is, and you've all got your favourite foods. But you just start small, start with the basic stuff, and just start being aware of what you're consuming, because all the preservatives, the chemicals, they all do play a part in your mental health as well. The other thing to mention would be alcohol. I'm not a big drinker. Kat likes a glass here and there, and there's nothing wrong with a glass here and there. You live your life. But I think just being mindful of what you're doing, or how much you're consuming when you're under extra stress, or perhaps you are drinking too much and that is causing the stress itself. I would also mention with alcohol that it does inhibit a lot of the absorption from your nutrients. So if you're taking any supplements or just eating really great food and you're having a great diet, that glass of wine or couple glasses of wine or whatever you're drinking, it can actually inhibit what you're absorbing. So just kind of be mindful of that as well.
And talking about inhibiting it can also inhibit your sexual drive. So that's just another fun fact that, it can lead to more stress. So
yeah, well, we don't want that.
No,
we
don't
want you to have a healthy, happy sex life.
That's exactly right.
The next point to mention, which is something we're both passionate about and got different experiences is meditation. Meditation's such a huge topic for stress management, and because it works. That's why it's such a big topic, and there's so many different types. One pet peeve I have, because I have taught meditation quite a few times, and one pet peeve I have is finding people or other teachers, let's say there's a right and wrong way to meditate, and I want to just blow that myth out and say no, there isn't. Meditation comes in so many different forms, and it's actually just about quietening the mind and finding that stillness in any way you can. So you can find that stillness when you're driving a car. I don't recommend it if you're not really sure what you're doing straight away, but what I'm saying is you can do it in so many different ways. I remember going to one meditation class when I first ever started on my journey, which was about 10 years ago, really. I can't believe it's that long, and she was telling me off for not sitting up straight. And I had a lot of back problems and I needed to I couldn't keep that posture for an hour. And the more I looked into it, I didn't gel with that advice. Meditation is the state of mind, a state of consciousness. So just wanted to blow that out. If you think you're doing meditation wrong, if you've tried it and you go, I can't stop thinking, you're not doing it wrong. Just take that pressure off yourself and just observe those thoughts. Just don't think you're not supposed to think anything. That's impossible. You're always going to have thoughts. But trying to quieten them down or slow them down is probably a better way of saying it.
Oh, most definitely. I wasn't able to put my legs in that position upright, and I was going, I can't sit here.
What position upright?
You stick your feet on top of your knees
and
sit in like the position.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, I can't meditate because I can't sit like that, but then I learned that, yes, that's not the way that it has to be. And I tend to do most of mine when I can, meditation lying down, which I do end up falling asleep most of the time. But I have learned that, yes, like you said, you can practice it anywhere. And I've listened to quite a lot of people speak about how you need to meditate in the morning and meditate at night. I don't wake up on my own in the morning. I have a 3-year-old and a dog next to me that wake me up. So when is my time for my stillness to be able to clear my mind and work on my breathing? It doesn't always work for me. So you've got to find what works for you. And I found a great place to start. Bec's been, teaching this and doing meditation for, a decade. I'm on my journey. I'm almost, qualified to teach meditation and holistic counselling. But I found that it's a guided meditation was the first place that I started, because I had so many thoughts come in and out of my head. And in the beginning, I didn't know how to flick them on. I dwelled on those thoughts.
Yeah.
So having someone remind me of where to concentrate on and when to concentrate on my breathing just helped take the pressure off. So I found that was it. Do you agree? Do you reckon that would be a good place to start?
100%. Yeah. When I first started meditating, it's a really long story, so I'm not going to explain it because it's quite interesting and I love the story. But I'm going to just give you the short version, but my meditation journey started quite interestingly. And it was a guided meditation. And it was like a light switch turned on within me. It was quite dramatic, really. But it was a very big spiritual awakening for me. And you might not find that experience. You could just feel really relaxed. And if that's all you feel from meditation, that's amazing. Because that means your body is getting out of that fight or flight. That means you're able to heal. Because your body can't heal in any capacity when it's in that fight or flight stress mode. So mine started with a guided meditation on YouTube. In all honesty, I was 19, getting out of some trauma and everything, and felt the urge to meditate. And before that, I just thought I had to sit in a weird position and chant. I didn't know what meditation was. Yeah, so I started with a guided, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe please, and you'll notice some guided meditations being uploaded on there. So it's just a great free resource you can use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So fabulous place to start.
And I also, when I was working in an office for quite a few years, it was a very interesting environment for quite a spiritual, energetic, sensitive person in a construction environment. But I used to go to have multiple toilet breaks. They probably thought I had a problem, but I didn't. And I would just go to the toilet, and I would put my hand on my heart, take a few deep breaths, and just kind of calm myself down. That is meditation. Meditation is 40 to 60 minutes of chanting and trying to have still thoughts. It can be 30 seconds to a few minutes in the toilet, at work, calming yourself down.
So this is old school, before Apple had a watch that told you to breathe every so often. So now you can get a fancy watch that tells you, okay,
I don't have a fancy watch.
Concentrate on your breathing for 30 seconds. Let's hit that daily target, because breath work works. Breathing works. Slowing down your breath and making sure that you're breathing deeply.
Correctly, belly breathing, not shallow breaths.
Does work.
It does work.
If Apple have produced something, it must be true.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, no, okay.
Don't know about that. But so anyway, 5 minutes, couple minutes, that's all you can fit in any day just to calm yourself down. And I also, on the meditation topic, because we'll talk about something else quickly in a minute, but something I've had to just tell myself to do is to comfort myself when I'm under stress. Because a lot of the time you can easily help yourself by, I guess, inner child work is what I'm trying to refer to. I really dive deep into that when I was in a bit of an unhealthy relationship, trying to get out of that. And that was kind of recent-ish. But what helped me cope and really kind of get through that was calming myself down, that inner child, that inner version of me that needed some love. So if you feel like you need reassurance or love in your life, if you're very overwhelmed and stressed, talk to yourself. Imagine there's a child within you, as weird as that is, and just talk to yourself as you would talk to a child. Like it's a separate identity to you in a way, entity, and just comfort that part of you. And it really has helped me dramatically. Like it's just great. So we're going to obviously dive deep into these topics, like we keep saying, but it's just to get you to start thinking of different ways to help with your stress management.
Okay. Oh, that would be interesting. I look forward to hearing a bit more about that.
Inner child work.
Okay.
Let's talk about sleep.
Sleep. Yeah, something that we undervalue definitely, and I can speak to that, being a shift worker and a mum, putting other people's needs and priorities above my own and thinking that I can get by. I only need a couple of hours here and there. I can, still run to playgroup, run to a, coffee catch up, head to work, come home, have a couple of hours of sleep, but it's not doing myself any favors. And I now know that and appreciate it. Do I get enough sleep? Still a work in progress, that's for sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Bec? Do you get enough sleep?
Sometimes yes, but sometimes I notice that it's not the best quality sleep. So, and that can be from many different factors, but I don't have a 3-year-old interrupting my sleep like she does. But we all have different sleep patterns and sleep hygiene, and that comes into the blue light exposure that we are exposed to. And if you're not aware of what blue light is, the blue light's obviously a frequency of light that the sun, we can actually get exposed to from the sun, but we've got artificial versions within our house, on our phones, on our laptops, that actually tell your body that it's daytime, because you're supposed to be exposed to blue light during the day. So by seeing it at nighttime, like right now, we have some blue blocking glasses and we should be wearing them, but I left mine at home and I'm not at home at the moment. So
Excuses.
I know. I dropped the ball. But if you can invest in some sort of blue light blocking glasses, so you're not exposed to that artificial light at night that tells your body it's daytime, which then makes it harder to fall asleep and get good quality sleep, and also has been proven to be the cause and contributor to many health conditions.
Macular degeneration is one of them.
Yeah, so many. Mental health is just one.
Yeah, depression, anxiety. So not just like physically with the eyes, but the way that your brain's working in the depression and the anxiety. So Bec has been wearing blue blocker glasses for ages, and Mum and Bec were harping on at me, going back to shift work and being exposed to the blue light, not just at nighttime scrolling on my phone, but being in an environment where I can't control what the light looks like on my screens. Get some blue blocker glasses. So I did. And just a tip, if you do have any prescriptions whatsoever, I do recommend that you fork out a little bit more and get your prescriptions in the blue blocker glasses, because I thought, oh no, mine are only little, I just need them for computer work. Most of my work was at computers at night, didn't get them, swapping in between glasses. Then I chose not to wear them as much because it was harder for me to see. So fork out that little bit extra if you can.
Yeah.
And there's other ways that we can minimize the light without forking out a lot of money.
Yeah, well, on the glasses, there's lots of different types. So some of the brands out there actually don't stop the right amount of frequency. Like there's different waves that you want to inhibit with the glasses. So kind of do your research. We have one brand, we'll put it in the show notes just to give them a bit of a shout out. But
even though we're not affiliated
at
this stage.
At this stage, hey.
If you're here and you hear us.
Hello.
Blue block, if you hear us.
Yeah, so, but yeah, if you can invest, it is an investment, but it is really great if you can do it. If you can't, you can but you can change the light on your laptop and on your phones. So there's programs to download. There's even just on the settings on your phones. So again, I'm not 100% sure if the settings are correct in the complete wave of blue light that they're blocking, but at least it's inhibiting a lot of it. Mm-hmm. So it's better than nothing. If you've got a smartphone, which pretty well everyone does these days, you can just change your settings, or on your laptop there's free downloadable programs. So just looking at that,
you can set a timer and then it starts to gradually change color. So you go, I need to start winding down now, and it goes from that blue light to a nice warm red, which goes back to when we're sitting around campfires, the red flame, and going, okay, it's red flame, it's night, it's time for us to start winding down and going to sleep.
Yeah. So that is something to consider if you are having issues with the sleep, or perhaps just a really anxious, stressed person, or suffering from any sort of mental health condition at all. Maybe you're exposed to too much artificial light and that's inhibiting you. Mm-hmm. But the next thing to help with that feedback loop that's going on in the body is to expose yourself to the natural elements. So expose yourself to sun. I know we get taught in school to not spend too much sun out in Australia anyway, because apparently our sun is way too harsh, and don't spend too much time out there. But I guess if you're smart with your time and you go at the right time of the day and expose yourself and build your way up, but if you can just expose yourself to the natural elements that we have around us, so the sun, the ground, so go barefoot on the grass, just be around nature more. That really does help you get more connected, but it really does reduce your cortisol as well. They've done many studies that being out in nature, even for 20 minutes, even just seeing photos of nature, which is so cool, it makes you really, really understand how powerful the brain is. But just seeing photos, being out inside in nature for 20 minutes reduces your cortisol, the stress hormone, significantly.
Yeah, I've told the story before, but when I started reevaluating, my journey, I was out getting more nature time, going for a little bushwalk, and I went up and hugged a tree.
Love it.
And it sounds a little weird, I know, because I don't go around hugging trees, but I did, and I thought, okay, it's letting me physically connect with the tree, so my touch, and it's also meant to help stimulate the microbes in your gut. So
Cool.
That was pretty cool as well. So yeah, I hugged a tree, felt connected.
I'm so proud of you.
It did make me happy, but I don't know if I was just laughing at myself, but it did generally make me happy.
Yeah.
So I was connected with nature. That and barefoot on the grass. So
yeah. When I'm really stressed with the exams and assignments and stuff, I need to remind myself, or maybe I'll have someone else remind me because I'm so caught up in what I'm doing, to go just for 30 seconds for a couple minutes outside, barefoot on the grass, because it really does help ground you, center you, help reduce your cortisol, even just a little bit.
I actually take my daughter out nearly every morning, and we go and we stand on the grass and we look at the sun, and we say, good morning, sun. We have our little, 2-minute ritual that we do, and I have to thank Mum for that, because Mum started her early, barefoot on the grass and taking deep breaths and kind of grounding. But now that's we've built that into our morning ritual, which is lovely.
Kat's daughter is just the cutest. She we started her young with yoga poses, fork tuning, sound healing, with morning sun now,
She's 3 and she asked for calming music, so
which is like binaural beats and like sound healing music, so it's really cool. And I remember teaching her some breath work when she was really upset one day at the park, and I'm like, just take a few deep breaths, everything's going to be okay, it's going to make you feel a lot happier, just take a few deep breaths. And then she started telling her mum, I've got to take some breaths now. It's just amazing. So if you can start your kids young with any of these tools,
it definitely makes a difference. So, and also reminds you, so it's good.
yeah All right, next on our list is, we have gone through a lot. We're going to go through journaling real quick.
Yeah, journaling. So my experience with journaling is not quite as in-depth as Bec's. I've done a lot of journaling around stress and daily stress, and writing down what's causing me stress on a day-to-day basis, and then what I have done to reduce that, or to if I can get rid of it, completely get rid of it, but to reduce. So stress journaling. But Bec can speak to...
Well, I think journaling's just a bit, it's a self-reflection exercise. You can literally just journal your day if that floats your boat. I don't typically do that. I don't know why. I bought so many journals for myself, but for some reason I just never make the time or effort to just journal about my day. But there's so many great journaling tools and techniques. I was teaching metaphysics for quite a few years. I created a course because it just was amazing at the time and I loved it. And one of the techniques I got some students to do before we did a third eye meditation to open that realm was to really kind of get all the words out of their brain, like dump all of them out, because then you've got more space for something else to happen, more clarity, more free space there. So the technique was really quite simple. I learned it somewhere. I didn't make it up. You just get piece of paper, pen, pencil, whatever, and just write every thought that comes to your mind without thinking. Just keep writing. Don't stop. Write it all out, and don't reread it. Don't even take a breath. Well, yeah, I want you to breathe, but just don't re-look at what you're writing. And then once you're done, go burn it, go rip it out, whatever. And then it's like clear mind. You're getting that thoughts out of the brain.
It's like writing a list. I love writing lists, but you've got all of these items in your head and you need to get them out. So
something powerful about that, just getting it out.
Get it out, put it on a piece of paper, let your brain think of something different.
Yeah.
New space.
Yeah. Okay.
You were talking about gratitude, and that's part of the journaling and reframing.
Before the podcast. Yeah, gratitude. So gratitude is obviously great. That can get you into this beautiful space of connection and will do wonders for your body on all levels. But sometimes you might not be in the place of the gratitude. So maybe another technique like just journaling or doing what I was just explaining, the dumping of thoughts. I don't know what a better name for the technique would be called. But but gratitude, if you're in a space to do that and you can write a list of things you're so grateful for from a genuine place, it would do wonders. Like
reframing,
changing that perspective, and yeah, really great. So there's some little tools and techniques, food for thought there. There's stuff you can do that doesn't take too long either. Yeah.
I think last time on the list was movement and exercise.
I wanted to
actually no, sorry, second to last on the list. Can we talk about movement and exercise?
Yeah,
and
talk about that first.
Yeah,
Let's go
that's a good one. So like we spoke about earlier, Beck and I come from office jobs also where we don't move, and I suppose if you don't use it, you lose it, and you don't appreciate being able to move until you can't. So making sure that you prioritize time to get your steps up. We're not talking about running a marathon every day. I think it's meant to be like 7,000 to 10,000 steps is your ideal, but just really making time to go out or at home.
Just move the body.
Move
your body. Even if it's 20 minutes, just move, because that can just do wonders for your stress. What I noticed with stress is that I become way too into it what I noticed with exercise is that I will go crazy with it, because I would notice how great I feel, and then I'd have a tendency to do too much intensity with it, which causes stress on the body. So if you're under any sort of heavy stress at the moment, just take it easy with your movement. Just go for a gentle walk or whatever lights you up. Don't go too crazy. You might feel like it's causing more cortisol to rise in the body, but I think moving is really important. Yeah.
So that's one that's talked about quite a lot. So we'll leave movement there. I like what's next on the list.
Next on the list is supplements. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go tell you to go buy a whole bunch of stuff, because you might not need it, and I'm not your practitioner. Kat's not your practitioner, but from my experience, so if you don't know, if you haven't listened to our intro, I am a naturopathic student. I will be qualified hopefully in the next year or so. But some really good simple supplements you can take is just magnesium. So magnesium is a mineral used for hundreds of different functions in the body, and you start to deplete your stores when you're stressed. And then a sign of deficiency is stress and anxiety and depression and cramps and restless legs, which Kat was saying she suffered with pregnancy before, didn't you?
Oh my goodness, the restless legs were incredible. But I did find using topical magnesium, you can ingest it, but the topical magnesium worked wonders.
Yeah.
And
I like ingesting it, so everyone's different.
Well, I ingest it now, especially after a really intense workout. I make sure that I take magnesium in the form of a powder versus a tablet.
Yeah.
And I find that works wonderful, but if you the restless legs for the pregnancy, I just put like a little bit of cream or spray just above like my coccyx bone, lower back area, and it was fantastic. So it depends on what you're needing it for.
And I think you can take them both. You can take the topical type, which is magnesium chloride, because everything, if you don't know, your skin is really, really amazing at absorbing everything. So whatever you put onto your skin is going into your bloodstream. Some are more absorbable than others, but most things get absorbed really well. So you can build up your stores with magnesium, which is really cool, through the skin. And other times you can take it internally as well, or just take it internally. I would mention not to buy any magnesiums that are magnesium oxide, because the oxide is just a type of magnesium that isn't absorbed very well. It goes to your digestive system and acts as a laxative. So it's a bit of a cheaper option, right? So if you're going to buy one to ingest it internally, avoid that. And you can look at all sorts of different herbal stuff. If you wanted to, you can seek out a practitioner. You can do your own research. A really great herb is Withania somnifera, which is also called ashwagandha. I love the name. I don't know why I can say ashwagandha. Withania or ashwagandha, you hear it plenty of times in different ways. It's a really great adaptogenic herb, which means it helps your body deal with stress better. So it's pretty safe to take with other medication, but obviously talk to your doctor or your practitioner. And I think everyone should be on it really. But it's just something to think about, food for thought.
Yeah. So we talked about supplements and herbs, essential oils or smells or other plants. What were we saying earlier?
We were talking earlier about, I had to do an assignment on some pharmacologically active essential oils, and one of them was lavender. So we all know lavender is really good for relaxation or sleep. Most people do anyway. So it has been proven to really help medicinally just by smelling it, which is pretty cool, as a stress, anxiousness, sedative, like so many different things. So if you're under any sort of stress or feeling anxious, get some lavender, put that in a diffuser, or make a nice perfume for yourself, something. Yeah.
Cheap and easy. We're all about making things simple.
Yeah.
And your own lavender bush, you could probably make it. Could you make it into like some puree or something like that to put underneath your pillow if you don't have the essential oil, or you could just get an essential oil. Yeah.
Look for a good quality brand though, because there's so many brands out there, and some of them probably aren't as great. But yeah, so that's some really good tips. I think we've covered all the things that we wanted to cover, because...
Oh, actually...
What have we not covered?
One more thing, but we're only going to just mention it so you can look into it, and we're going to get an expert in to have a chat about EMFs.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yep, so your environment that you can't see and the harm that it could be causing.
Yeah, so electromagnetic field radiation. So... there's a lot of radiation going on behind the scenes, really. So from your phone, it classes the blue light we're talking about is classes EMFs. From your laptop, from the phone towers,
lampposts. Some of the lampposts with the new lights that have been installed. Yeah,
it's crazy. And it does impact you. There is plenty of studies out there, plenty of professionals talking about it. So we're gonna get someone to talk about it in depth, because we can't do it justice. There's a lot to really talk about. But just to be aware, maybe you were on the phone too much, or maybe you're looking at the screens too much, or perhaps the environment you're in is causing you stress in your body and you might not be aware of it. So it's just something to think about. Yeah. The Wi-Fi, that's included, and Bluetooth as well. So the last thing...
We said this earlier, but our take-home message.
Take-home message is be kind to yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's no better time than now to start being kind to yourself, because we're all going through lots of different things that we might not be sharing, or that you can't see behind the scenes, but there's just lots going on, and we're all out there to do our best.
Yeah. Just be kind to yourself. We're all humans going through this everyday life, and so much stress can pop up, and we might not even realize that we're that stressed or our body's reacting that way. But just don't put much pressure on yourself. And I think it's one of those things, if you have a coping mechanism, like we probably talked about before, to have that piece of dark chocolate, or maybe a block, but let's not go for a block, or maybe it's a couple glasses of wine, and that's your coping mechanism, and don't feel bad about it. Just don't have that extra layer of stress on yourself. Let yourself get through the moment and just be aware of it for next time.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
Oh no, I've just really enjoyed the chat. So thanks cool. Bec, and we can't wait to share more with you. If you haven't already, please have a look on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe and follow for more handy hints, tips, and
information. We're just excited to share stuff we learn as well. So it's really cool.
So we'll put more information in the show notes, but thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope you have a lovely week.
We'll see you in a week's time. Bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. It will really help support this channel and share this message. By all means, go over to our social media platforms and let us know